Hooty hoo, tackle tackle. Okay, so last week we kind of got into a little bit of an overview as to what environmental hedging is. Let's get down to some specifics here. Step one is to go after companies that are a net negative on our environment or our cultural landscape. A few companies that I go after, or ETFs I go after, is number one, United States Steel. After our new administration came into power, very interestingly, we had a person that doesn't believe in climate change or environmental stewardship take over the EPA. And very quick, right after that, you started seeing a lot of steel companies, a lot of chemical companies upping what they dump into our reservoirs and aquifers. United States Steel, literally about a month after the position had been filled at the EPA, got into a series of problematic issues with dumping viscous chemicals and things of that nature into a lot of the river systems around those particular plants. So United States Steel, what I do specifically is naked puts. Naked puts 30 days out around 0.20 delta. Fortunately for us, United States Steel pays out very, very handsomely. I've seen it all the way up to about 32% return for margin allocation. So that has a good for it. Another one is the ETF USO, United States Oil. I like that. For some reason, I mean, it's obvious. It's a series and conglomeration of oil companies that this ETF owns bits and pieces thereof. But I have a lot of success with USO in terms of trading. Another one I like to go after is UNG, United States Natural Gas Fund. That's kind of a little bit of a touchy one insofar as liquidity and volatility. Sometimes you just don't get very good premium for it, but when it's setting up nicely and you got some good directional action on it, it's fascinating. You can make some good coin on that. So every once in a while, I'll throw that out there. Another ETF I've been going after is GDX. GDX is a miners ETF. Basically, the ETF owns little bits and pieces of companies that are mostly gold and silver mining companies. So it tracks precious metals very nicely and has a certain inverse relationship to the United States dollar. So there's a couple angles you could play right there. Gold and silver aren't necessarily the most lending elements to our natural environment in terms of how we extract them. It's a very dubious, laborious, and wasteful process for the most part. Number one, especially gold mining, is mostly done through strip mining, especially on the large industrial scale. And strip mining obviously requires the complete and total decimation of that particular environment. Secondly is the usage of arsenic. Arsenic is, that's deadly to every form of life on this planet. And if the runoff from the mining process isn't managed properly, you can bet your bottom dollar that arsenic is seeping into the water table, into any tributaries, and causing extreme destruction and destitution. And a couple stock selections. FCX. FCX is a Freeport-McMoRan mining company, which has a rather tumultuous history. They mostly mine rare metals. They have a little bit of a stake in natural gas and a little bit of a stake in precious metals. They also have a very interesting history, history of taking advantage of the resource curse, essentially setting up shop in very underdeveloped countries prone to civil wars, genocide, all the above. Next is AMD, kind of like Freeport-McMoRan. It's a part of an industry that has a very interesting history with the resource curse in underdeveloped countries. Whether you know it or not, or whether you like it or not, most laptops and cell phones contain a series of rare metals that are only cheaply allocated, cheap enough to where we have cheap phones and cheap laptops, things that are affordable, from countries that are typically in cycles of civil war, have had history of genocide, a variety of different things of that nature. None of which is good. There's nothing worse than riding off the blood, sweat, and tears of three-fourths of the world's population just so you could buy a new iPhone 7. So AMD would definitely fall into that category. Another good one is Ambarella. I don't trade Ambarella too much for some reason. It just doesn't vibe with me. Haven't really had a good history of being profitable off of Ambarella. But AMD, well, I do a great job on AMD. AMD just ebbs and flows very nicely, and like the prior selections, just do naked puts, little short sells on it. Now, obviously, there's never any short of companies that would fall into the net negative category on our cultural landscapes or in our environmental landscapes for that most part. So there's always additions to be made, things coming and going, and I'm going to keep you up to date with all that comes. If any viewers have any suggestions of their own, be more than happy to receive them and take a look at them. So anything that gets some good bang for its buck and gives you a good premium and is not quite volatile, something smooth flowing, yeah, definitely would love to take a look at it. And why we do what we do is, well, so we can enjoy these pristine environments, have something to leave our kids, and just preserve the continuity of life. Part of life is not just living, but living well. So enjoy.